water supplied by a public municipality or a private well for residential or commercial use, Purified Water Services LLC has the solutions to provide you with simply clean water. We offer a complete line of professional water filtration equipment and accessories. Soft water makes a difference you can see and feel. Water heater and appliances last longer with less maintenance. Iron and H2S filters eliminate iron stains and offensive rotten egg odors and protects your water softener equipment from iron fouling. No matter what your problem is, Purified Water Services LLC has a solution. Contact Kenny Williams at 352-446-2709. All right, welcome back to another edition of the Goblay Show. I'm your host, Billy Goble, and today we have a special guest. I've known her for a long time. Went to school together for the end portion of our high school career. Not to say she's older than me, but she's a little bit older than me. A little bit. But without any further introductions, our special guest today is Miss Stacy Kinley. Stacy, welcome to the Goblay Show.
Thanks. So glad for meeting me here early this morning. I love it. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be number 3 of my family that gets to be on the Goblay Show.
Yeah.
I feel fancy.
Yes. Thank you so much for taking the time out this morning, very early. Of course, earlier the better for me.
Me too. It's homecoming. So, yes. I'm heading to work to homecoming here.
That's right.
All the things.
Crazy week.
Gosh, you aren't lying.
Such a crazy week.
We're in the thick of football season, and being a football spouse, it has been bananas. I'm not kidding you. I don't know what we would. I needed Thursday to be a hurricane day just so I could relax,
right,
and just decompress a little bit.
Oh my gosh. For those of you who don't remember or didn't hear about it when it happened, because this will be delayed a little bit.
Yeah.
We had a major hurricane. I mean, if anybody in the state didn't know about it, you must have been either asleep for a long time, maybe a coma, or just hadn't paid attention to any streaming service or mainstream media.
I know some people, they're like, there's a hurricane? Yeah, there's a hurricane.
The best is, let me finish. We had a major hurricane, and we had to move up our football game with North Marion. We were supposed to play them on Friday night, and we ended up moving it up to Wednesday night because we had no idea what the storm was possibly going to do. And so both teams came to an accord. Both came up with this agreement that we're going to play on Wednesday night. And so it was the first ever homecoming on Wednesday night. I think it's the first time we've ever played on Wednesday night.
Not only that, have these last couple of games been the longest games in high school history?
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy. The officiating has been off the chain.
It has been a lot. I was just like, come on, can we get this game over? I know Ty doesn't want to hear that, so I'm sorry, Ty. And, John got up first thing and he watched film and had all kinds of conversations about it. But man, we got home at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
Yeah, it was, I remember it was in the fourth quarter and it was already 10:30. And I was like, oh my gosh, normally this is when we're playing away.
Right.
And we had a late start or something. But I think for the most part, we started on time. It was just that it was one of those games.
It was one of those games for sure. And it's crazy. I just can't even imagine. We're dating ourselves by saying that we were exhausted and it was 11 o'clock, just so you know.
Yes.
When we look back at this, we're going to be like, we used to go out at 11 o'clock. Now we're like, we didn't get home until 11.
Yeah. I had to drink an energy drink at 8:30. I had a Celsius at 8:30 at halftime or 9 o'clock halftime. That's my new tradition. That never graduates.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, little plug there.
That's great.
Yeah, but other than that, did you guys storm damage? Did you get anything?
We were good. We, all the things you do. It's funny. I don't know if your wife does this or if you guys did this, but it's like, okay, a hurricane's coming, and because we've been out of electricity before, it's like, okay, we're gonna wash all the laundry, we're gonna mop the floors. I made 3 loaves of bread. Like,
oh my gosh.
Well, because the stores might be out of bread.
Well, yeah,
so,
you're right. You're right. You were right.
I'm surprised we didn't buy a cow. We're going to put it in the back and milk it. Like, I don't know what I think is going to happen when the hurricane comes through and we don't have electricity for 2 days. But we were fine. Sometime in the night, we lost electricity, but I woke back up and it was on, so I'm good. It was fine.
It's funny. It takes a Cat 4 to turn everybody Amish.
True. I'm baking bread. I'm on Amazon, like getting a new bread slicer today.
I love it.
So, the Kinleys have homemade sandwich bread in the freezer, and also lunch meat I've taken to making lunch meat. That's for later in the podcast. We'll talk about that.
You renamed John to Jedediah.
He's growing his beard.
He's growing a beard out in 2 days.
I'm going to grow my hair. Start wearing skirts.
He had the little curls coming up. Oh, well, and that's the thing is a lot of people prep differently. And, Tuesday, Wednesday, we heard, it's going to be big. It's going to be big. And it was big. We were blessed not to have any damage. Unfortunately, our friends on the coast.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's so bad.
Oh, my goodness. So your neighbors, the Newmans, her family lives in Hudson, and a year ago, their house was destroyed by a fire. And
gosh.
They rebuilt or bought a new home. I'm not sure which. And it's completely destroyed again. I talked to her last night and I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're just done. I mean, he's like a retired principal or something from Springstead. And he's like, we're too old for this. And they're just packing up. And one of the ladies I used to work with at the property appraiser's office, she has a condo at Hunter Springs in Crystal River.
Okay.
And exactly a year ago to like this week, it flooded with that last hurricane.
Right.
It flooded again.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So, gosh, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My daughter-in-law couldn't get to work yesterday. Howard Franklin was underwater.
Oh, yeah. I saw a video of that.
And, she and Reese live right there.
Yeah.
So
water's coming over the sides. I'm like, and normally that's like, you can look down and you're like, that's like a 12-foot drop.
Yeah.
It was coming over the sides.
Yeah.
And I was like,
literally, she's like taking pictures and like, I can't get to work.
Gosh.
So.
Oh my gosh.
I know. That's crazy.
So, yeah. I've seen several videos. I saw it was a picture where 19 and 44 intersect, and it was completely underwater. And I'm
crazy.
like, oh my God, dude.
It's crazy. One of my good friends, she and her husband Jack and Mary Hatcher, have a house in Homosassa.
Right.
And they know it's flooded. They can see from their cameras that it's flooded, but they can't get to it.
Wow.
And they're thinking it'll be like tomorrow or Monday before they can get there, which is, it's sad and it's scary because you don't know. And then all I think about is like, oh, there go our home insurance rates, right? Like we're all going to pay for it in the long run.
Well, that's another thing, the insurance, in 2004 when we had the 3 hurricanes, actually we had 4, but nobody counts Ivan on the Panhandle coast. But when we had the 3 here, it was sad when they started doing they rethought the whole insurance process. Like, yeah, we're not going to cover that, or your roof's not covered.
That was such a crazy time. That was a crazy. So Brock was a baby, and that's why I remember it, because it's 20 years ago, and he was an infant, and here I have this little infant baby, and we're trying to clear a tree. It was insane. Reese ended up in the hospital. I don't ever want to go back to that. Maybe that's why I make bread. Like, we can't get out. If we're trapped. Now that we live in a neighborhood, we're trapped. We're going to make bread. We're going to go ahead and plant the vegetables for hurricane season. They're coming.
Yeah, when I said that the roof wasn't covered, and there was no joke. Like the house wasn't covered.
No,
there's no roof. I mean, no does.
No.
But that's the chance you take. And coincidentally, I don't know if you saw this, but The last time there was a Cat 4 was 1958, and it was also called Helene.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
It's interesting, yes. And it came the same area, too.
Like the same path?
Which is really bizarre.
What about the one that's down there now? Like, I'm watching that one.
They say it's going to say it's pretty much doing the same thing.
Oh.
So I can imagine you have to go through all this, and then 10 days later we get to do it again.
Yeah. But like historically, that's what in our lifetimes, in our adult lifetimes, that's what we've done.
Right.
Right. So welcome to the Billy and Stacy Hurricane Show.
We should definitely do that. Do a live, like
the weather podcast.
I'll roll my sleeves up like Tom Terry does. That's how you know he means business.
We can have one of the kids like mist us with water. It's great. I'm in. Blow a fan.
Catfish Johnny's Restaurant, serving the Lake Pennsauken and surrounding areas since 1990. For the last 33 years, we have strived to serve great food at great prices and a friendly, casual atmosphere. If seafood isn't your thing, our burgers or wings are the best around. We have daily specials too. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram for more information. One year I was trying to do that very same thing. I went outside, I had a rain jacket on, and I was out and I was pretending I'm like, yes, we're live in Bunnell. And I was like, oh wait, Bushnell. I'm in the wrong area.
Sorry. I love it. Yeah, if this other hurricane comes, we're doing it.
Yes, that would be.
We'll be live. That's my wedding video too. John and I got married in a hurricane on the beach. We thought it was a great idea.
No way.
It wasn't a hurricane, but it was a storm. But it was like.
I was like, who planned that?
Yeah. The girl that wanted to get married is like, as soon as football season's over, we're getting married.
Wow.
So yeah, it was rainy.
To say the least, it was rain. They say that's good luck.
Yeah, we're still married.
We're still together. Yeah. Recently I just got married, and I was so worried about that. I was like,
about the rain or about the marriage?
Both. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
No, it was the weather. Obviously, it was because you got to plan. Months.
You don't know. Yeah,
you have no idea. And I was like, please God. let this work out.
Right.
Both of them.
Let's fingers crossed. We really want good weather today.
It was absolutely beautiful weather. We got beautiful pictures.
They were beautiful pictures.
Tori Lovett did a great job. I highly recommend Tori Lovett. I'm gonna drop that plug in there for her. She never would ask me to do that, but I'll do that for her.
She took some pictures for me after treatment, so
okay,
I'll send them to you and we can put those together.
Yeah. So, speaking of the hurricane, I was telling Nicole, I was like, I just, we're watching this thing progress, and it's like, it's like watching a movie. You're not affected by it, but you're watching from the outside in. And I told Nicole, I said, what did people do before Tom Terry and satellite radio or satellite radar and?
I guess we just waited and saw. There's always been meteorologists though. Like we've had news since the 50s. Now,
right? But I'm talking about
technology
400 years ago.
Yeah. No, I guess you're like the Indians were like, like the animals start acting weird and everybody moves inland. I don't know. Right? That's what they did.
Yeah, you got the one. You got the one old guy in the tribe that's been here, obviously because he made it.
He's the guy that ate the mushrooms and he's sees things.
What is that stuff called? Peyote or what?
I don't know.
Not
he
peyote,
made the tribe. He's the one.
What is it? Hiawatha?
So also we did not pay attention in a history class. No. I'm sure that's what happens. They probably just were mindful of more mindful of
changes
the birds and things. My dog acted crazy all day on Thursday.
Yeah.
And was just a nutcase. Not really. More of a nutcase than normal.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say mine didn't do anything. It's just normal.
He was just super needy and
that's daily.
So it was just like, okay, he knows something's going on. So don't you think that's what that happened? Like, they're like,
well, the only thing that would throw them off is that ibis. The ibis is the last one to leave. So they're waiting on that bird to leave. And they're like, oh my God.
I mean, it probably took a couple of tribes, right? Like, some people probably got washed out before that happened.
And they're like, we got it wrong.
Next time.
They wrote it on a rock. Like, don't be here in September.
So, like, my family's from South Georgia, and John and I got married on Jekyll Island. And Jekyll Island has this huge history of things like that, like entire families being washed away from the island, and they're in the cemetery. And I think that's super interesting. But yeah, I mean, they're washed away, and now they're on their gravestone. It's like they lived, here lies mom, dad, brother, sister, everybody's gone.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's crazy. But you're right. It's I was glued to my TV. Like, we're just continuing to watch the things spin. Like, it's on the outside of Florida.
Yes.
And you're like, it's not moved. It's moving 23 miles an hour. It's moved 23 miles.
Yes. And then they said, like, the last, like, as soon as it hits land, they're like, it's going to take off. And, it's one of those things you're like, what?
Well, again, my family lives in South Georgia, and my cousin yesterday didn't have laundry. She didn't have laundry. She didn't have laundry all day. She didn't have electricity for like 8 hours.
Forgot to close that. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
So, laundry.
Yeah, she didn't have laundry. She didn't have electricity for like 8 hours in South Georgia, which I think it's rare that like it goes on land and continues to be a hurricane for, because usually it dissipates.
That's, that's what I thought too. Cause then they're talking about Georgia, and they go, Georgia's going to get right like Atlanta. They're going to have flash floods, warnings and stuff like that. And I'm like, it just, you think the higher you go, the better off you'll be.
Well, and I think they were having like hurricane weather in like South Carolina, even like it's like continued across the Southeast, which is, I think, unique in that. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm a hairstylist. So.
Right.
But, from our, professional perspectives, that's what we think. Well, for the next hurricane, when we're out in the
baking bread and
when we're on location in
the cows. But I think that's us being an experience through that. Like, if it's your first time going through it, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to expect.
Right.
And it's one of those things where you're, it's a little overwhelming, because it's like, this is going to be a really bad reference, but this is the way I would look at it, is like, have you ever seen Jaws? I know you have.
Yes.
Okay. You know why Jaws is so scary?
Why?
Not because
he's a giant shark.
Well,
that eats
not
people?
just because that.
Oh, not that.
For
not
45.
That. Not that part. That part doesn't make him scary.
And forget the name.
And the giant teeth that come out of nowhere.
But for 45 minutes, you never saw the shark.
Right. And it's the anticipation of it.
Exactly. So that's okay. So it did make sense. Okay.
Yeah, it made sense. Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. One for Billy. All right. But no, I always reference that because I'm like, you never saw the shark, and the next time you go swimming, definitely if you swim in water that, especially in the dark. That poor woman with the. I'm like, never again, brother. Never.
Or like, you can be in your pool and you'll be like, it's dark, and you know that the shark has somehow climbed, grown legs, climbed from the ocean, got in the pool, and it's just waiting there in the deep end.
Went through the screen, my bird cage. Yes. No, I'm dead serious. It's all up here. It's psychosomatic. It's
Agreed.
And my grandmother's told if my sister watches this, she'll die. Any of my cousins watch this. I used to think there was a shark in the pool. I'm to this day. I still believe there might be a shark in there.
Hey, listen, in the deep end, I'm not going in the deep end.
That's what I'm talking about, especially at night.
Or remember, there was a movie I watched, and I was little, so you were little as well. But like, there were alligators in the sewer, and there were like alligators in the pool. Do you remember that movie? I mean, I don't know what movie it was, but it was like alligators.
Alligators.
And they like were taking over a town. I mean, it was obviously some B-rate horror film, but
was that in Lake Pan? Or?
But I totally was like, there was an alligator. If there's not a shark in there, the alligator came. Like they take turns?
Yeah. Duto Realty is a homegrown business with an eye for getting the job done right. From football games to Sunday school and everything in between, these ladies care about our community and the people in it. Helping buyers and sellers in all of Florida with all types of transactions, including residential, commercial, farm, or vacant land. They do it all. They even offer auction services and sellouts to always get the job done right. Definitely not something that I would probably watch today, like even today.
No, it's hard for me to watch. John and I have this conversation all the time. He wants to I'm not a movie rewatcher. Do you rewatch movies?
I watch movies all the time. Like
you can just keep watching it.
Yes.
Okay.
There are certain movies though, but it has to be certain movies.
Yeah. Like there's a couple I can be like, okay, I'll watch that again. But he wants to rewatch movies, 80s movies all the time.
Oh yeah.
That I struggle. I am that is some really poor film quality.
That is so true about television.
Yeah.
I love the 18.
Yes.
Love it. So cheesy now.
It's so cheesy, right?
But I love it.
Brock is my pop century kind of kid. So he loves Goonies and the A-Team and all that kind of stuff. And you look at it and you're like, I am not sitting through 2 hours of this. But
I just tried to rewatch Breakfast Club, and I'm like, really? They're there on a Saturday.
And there was a teacher that wanted to be there on a Saturday.
Yeah. Got 8 hours. He specifically says you have to be here for 8 hours. And then he's like, I'm going to be across the room.
Yeah.
Don't do anything stupid.
So John and Camden just rewatched that. And I'm like, I cannot watch this.
I couldn't do it.
I 100% am not even sure that I've ever seen Grease all the way through. And now we're getting hate mail from this, but I just don't.
I haven't either. Don't feel bad.
Okay, so
I've seen bits and pieces.
Address the hate comments to Billy and Stacy. Billy Goblay.
I'm gonna be at Walmart and be like, you don't like Grease? I'm like, I didn't say that.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen it. It's just
I cook with it.
I use it in my hair, but
my hair needs washed. No, I mean nostalgic stuff. I love rewatching. I before streaming services were really popular, I had tons of DVDs, and I'll show you.
You're the guy that showed up to the thrift store with 6 boxes.
No, I never got rid of them.
Do you still have them? Okay.
I have the box set of Mama's Family.
That's hilarious.
It's random.
That is pretty random.
But my intentions was I was gonna, at the time that I bought it, I was supposed to meet Vicki Lawrence, and I was gonna have her sign it.
Oh, that's cool. You always think of things like that.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna go to that game in a year, and I need that jersey.
Yes.
I don't ever think it. I'm the person that I get there and I'm like, should have bought a jersey. I should have bought that picture of Mama's
We should have
family.
brought the kids. But no, I'm very. My buddy Jonathan calls me Reminiscent Bill.
Aww.
That's I talk about the good old days, I'm like, well, that's why they were the good old days.
I know. What are you going to do when
so
we get much older? And then, are these the good old days that you're going to be talking about? We're still going to be talking about the 80s and the 90s.
You always talk about the kid, when you were a kid, because you had no responsibility.
Right.
I think, people harp on their childhood because it was great. It doesn't matter when you were born. It was great.
I don't know. I try to be in the moment. I try to love where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that was great. But I love, we have adult kids now and we have grandkids, and I love that part of our life right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard for me. That was fun. I mean, it was fun. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That was fun. Being young was fun. And I love being from a small town. That is not where I thought I would be or how I would end up or anything like that. But thanks to the Kinleys, they rooted me here. The Kinleys are like built in the cement around here, they're in the water, the school system. And like, oh, you're a Kinley. Yeah, I'm married into the family. But they like attach their tentacles, and I'm here, and I love it, and I love being part of that small community. So I just try to love where I'm at. Like, there's places we can look back in our lives and be like, that wasn't great, but yeah, I got you to where you're going. So just learning to live where we're at, and let these be the good old days, really. Like, let these be like, I just got married, and suck it up.
Well, no doubt I look toward the future, but I think the reason why people they cling to the past is because they were comfortable. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like I say, like when you were a kid, you were comfortable. Yeah. You had it made.
And you felt safe. You felt all the things,
You did. You felt, a lot of people felt different things, but you felt loved. Yeah. More than you do. So like when you're adolescent years, you get older and you're like, I hate everybody and everybody hates me.
Like you said, like feeling comfortable. I feel like I really thrived in like late high school. You remember that feeling of just like being like, we rule the school, and this is like, you just feel comfortable, like you feel like you're in an 80s movie. You're running around and doing silly things.
Well, I think that's that part of when you realize, like, the scariest part was at graduation. I've said this before, but I'll never forget it. And there are things that you'll never forget that that will help you either learn from it, grow.
100%.
Graduation night, Karen Cloud. Never had Miss Cloud in school.
Really?
No, I didn't do psychology, and I didn't.
Oh man,
I didn't make good grades, so I would never. I never would have stepped foot in her.
Oh my gosh.
In her class, but love Miss Cloud, legend.
Yes.
She told us, everybody's in the room together, and we're about to go into the gym, and she says, I want everybody to look to their left and their right, because it's the last time that we'll all be together. And I tell people that, and it gives them chills.
It's crazy because she's so right, and
dead serious.
And she said that to us as well.
Really?
So yeah.
Okay. So well, I'm glad. I'm glad it's something she says, because it's so true that people can, like, I guess it's like a live in the moment deal. Like,
oh yeah, like look around and appreciate your friends for who they are. Now, I will say that like my high school class, we're still all really close. Like, there's a lot of us that still live here,
right? And
so we're all still really, really close. Miss Cloud is like a second mother to me, and so I spend a lot of time with her and her family. And so I'm still like holding a grudge because she chose not to be the cheerleading sponsor my senior year. But like I had her. So when I was a senior, I had Miss Cloud for like 7 of the 8 periods for the day. Like the only other class I needed was like Miss Pete's class or something.
Gotcha.
So I was just Miss Cloud's assistant, which AKA just meant like I took her kids on, like her younger son, I took him on to like dental appointments and like cleaned her house, like organized things. That's what I was doing in my senior year of high school. And but you're right. That's just live where you're at. Look around. You're never going to see these. You're never all going to be in the same room.
Right.
I remember the day I graduated. My maiden name is Atkins, so of course I'm like number 1 in the regular kids. Like I didn't get to walk with like honors, so I'm like number 2 in the regular kids. Twain Allen was beside me, and I was like dying. Like I was sobbing. Yeah. And he's like, "Girl, you okay?" Like, you gonna make it? And
Twain.
I was like, I'm okay. But what it dawned on me, nobody told me like that I needed to be preparing for something else. Like, absolutely. And I don't know why I didn't know that, but it was like we graduated, and half my friends went to Tallahassee, and my best friend went to Florida, and everybody had plans, and I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Now what?
Now what? And nobody prepared me for that. Right. So one of the things that like from that is like we tried to make sure our kids like, okay, what's next? What are we doing next? Like, right. I don't know why nobody told me I needed to do that. I don't know. It's something weird that's always stuck with me. Did someone prepare you for that? Well, your mom was a teacher, so she probably did. Like, Billy, what are you going to do?
Is the exterior of your home or business covered in dirt, mildew, or mold? Driveway or walkway stain? Pressure King can make your siding, deck, vents, and concrete look new again with no damage. Pressure King has cleaned the exterior of houses and businesses all over Sumter County area. Usually it takes less than a day and costs less than you would expect. Call AJ at 352-457-7209. Okay, so again, I was a horrible student. Horrible. I would not be able to do high school again the way it is now. I would not survive. I'm not downing myself. I'm just lazy. I didn't want to do the work, and I did what I had to do in order to graduate. Now, people don't know this, but my sophomore year, I went to summer school to make up a credit. Junior year, I went to the Excel lab on the computer, made up a credit. And then my senior year, I had to retake a freshman class. So I literally had to do what I had to do in order to graduate because it was my own fault.
Right.
Because I was so lazy, didn't do anything. So when I graduated, it was an accomplishment. I mean, it's an accomplishment for everybody, but I did it the hard way because of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are people that, and don't get me wrong, there are people, I felt horrible. There are people that are not test takers, but are great students.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't think that should be held against people.
No, and I think they do a better job now of recognizing that. Like if you're a poor test taker and things like that. I was always blessed. I'm super blessed. I'm a super good test taker. My kids are all super really good test takers. My two younger kids especially. Our older kids, Isabella was just so like diligent. Like she was our like studier. Like she would study. Yeah. Reese had a lot of things going on. You know, like he played a bunch of sports, played every sport, and so he struggled a little bit, but we got him through. And he's got a degree, so
right.
That's it. C's get degrees, baby. C's get degrees.
Absolutely, and I passed with a 2.0. That's what I had to have.
That's it.
Look, don't tell me you got to have this and then be like, oh, well.
Yeah.
No. You told me if I got a 2.0, I can graduate. Don't be like dissing me because I did.
Yeah, who cares? Again, C's get degrees. We're just trying to get through. We're trying to get through the next one. When are we ever going to use, I promise you, I'm a hairstylist. I cut angles all day long. Never once have I been like, let me solve the square root of that angle. Like, never have I done that. I'm a chemist. I mix chemicals all day long. And never have I been like, let me.
I tell Kelly Lawrence that all the time. Like, I've been out of school for 20 something years and I've still yet to use algebra. And she's like, well, and I love Kelly. But Kelly's a math person. So she's very adamant about explaining. She's like, well, do you have a calendar? Do you make, I'm like, let's not go there. Don't try to confuse me with facts.
Right, exactly. So we have covered all the beginning parts of our relationship, the weather, how the Kinleys are turning Amish. That's going to be the new podcast. The Kinleys turn Amish.
The Kinley, how would we name that? Like Bridgerton, but the
McKinleys. The McKinleys are turning Amish, and the Amish football coach. So,
well, were you born here? Is for my first question.
So I was born in Florida. My family is from like the Kissimmee, St. Cloud area, but I am a prison brat.
Okay.
So,
you weren't in prison.
I wasn't in prison, nor was my family in prison. My family just worked for the state prison system. So, my father, my grandfather, and so they just, if you've ever been in that environment, you know, those people just move around a lot. So
nomads.
Kind of, you know, just going where they're needed. And so we lived kind of all over the state. My grandfather moved here and worked for the state prison here. And it was a more permanent position than he had. And so he decided to stay. And, you know, I was being wild and crazy at another prison, in another county with my parents, and I'm the oldest. And so life seemed like the grass was much greener here, I thought. So I just was like, can I come live with you? And I moved here in 7th grade and I never left. My grandmother said, like, if you move here, we're not doing this back and forth thing. Like, you're not coming here.
Make your mind up.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it wasn't like I was forced to live with my grandparents. I wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, what oldest kid doesn't want to be the only child and have things? I mean, I was the oldest grandchild too. So my grandparents just catered to me and I was like living my best life. And then, in the summer and on holidays, I'd go home to and help watch my siblings and do all that. And I thought it was great and I liked it here. So it was fine.
You were like, when it was time to go, you're like, well, I guess I had to go back to the peasants. Back at the old house.
So the funny part is it was like it was just in Polk County. So it was in Polk City, which is like another small Bushnell-esque type place. And when I was driving, I would drive there and I'd be like, that's exactly what it was. Well, and everybody would be like, oh, you have to go visit your parents. Cause they thought my parents was like some bad place. Like, really, it was exactly the same as it was here. It was just, I didn't have my own bedroom or like I wasn't, I didn't have to share anything at my grandparents' house. So I was just rotten. That's all.
Well, it'd be funny if you said, I got to go see my parents in prison.
I'm sure that's what they thought. Like, I'm sure that's what everyone thought. You move here.
Can't they get transferred a little bit closer? Like, doesn't Bushnell have a prison?
Well, and it's hard. You move here. I moved here in 7th grade and everyone has went to bullfrogs and butterflies with each other their entire lives. And now they let this kid in. That was hard. Like, it took me a couple of years to break into a friend group because, I look Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish, so it was like, where does she fit in? And because I had been to so many different elementary schools and you adapt to meeting people, and I mean, it was 30 years ago, 25 years ago, you adapt to different ethnicities and things like that.
Yes.
None of those things ever bothered me.
Right.
Like, it was not a thing. But you move to a small town and it could bother people. So and not that it ever bothered our friend group. Anyways, it is what it is. It was like I kind of fit in with everybody, but didn't, I just kind of, it took a while. It took a minute. I was the new kid.
Yeah.
That didn't have the pre-K picture. But now my kids are the kids that have the pre-K pictures because they've been here forever. So, yeah. Well,
I mean, you're not the only person that's ever done that. So it's not like it's something that you were alienated. Like, I am the only one not from here. I'd say that all the time about, like, when I was subbing at school, and it's like this kid would come in there. Oh, we got a new kid. Where are you from? Michigan. What?
Yeah. How did you ended up in Bushnell, Florida?
How'd you find us? I mean, I know they make maps, but
I ask my clients that all the time. I have a lot of village clients, and I'm like, so you were, in Rochester, New York, or in upstate New York, and you saw a magazine or a commercial for the villages, and we're like, I'm going to live there. Yeah. And so, and that's literally how it happens, It's Central Florida. I guess just people, it's convenient, know? Like, it's convenient. It's convenient to airports. We're right on the interstate,
You're 40 miles from the beach. Yeah. No matter where you are.
Exactly. I mean, so and it's a nice little town, I think.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Webster Ace Hardware and Farm Supply are generous sponsors for today's podcast. They have been a family-owned business for 27 years. This helpful hardware store sells items such as archery, Ariat clothing and boots, Wrangler jeans, case knives, Hammond's candies, and live fishing wear. They also have a full selection of hardware, RV supply, propane, Ben Moore, Royal & Clark, and Kingston paints. You need a barn or fencing job done? Custom barn kits and roofing metal are provided at your local Ace Hardware store. What about a new grill for the yard? Traeger, Big Green Egg, Weber, and Blackstone are found here, along with all the accessories to go with them. Stock up your workshop with DeWalt, Milwaukee, or Craftsman tools. They got you covered. Remember to go to ace.com to shop their entire line to have items shipped directly to the store. For almost 30 years, 75 Chrome Shop has been a family-run business with a dedicated team of longtime employees. We stay ahead of the curve in the ever-changing trucking industry, providing top-notch customer service and product knowledge. Whether you're looking for the latest chrome accessories or hard-to-find parts, we've got you covered. We offer aftermarket chrome for all big rigs, custom vinyl lettering, acrylic signs, and tags. Our 10,000 square foot facility, the oldest chrome shop in the South, houses a mechanic shop for oil and tire changes and chrome installation. Plus, we have a huge selection of lights for every vehicle on the road. Don't miss our annual truck show every April featuring over 200 trucks and family-friendly entertainment. Visit 75 Chrome Shop today. Your truck's new best friend.
My clients that I have that are from the villages or from out of state or aren't from here, that's one of the things they love about it is we have managed to keep the small town feel without, like we get the growth, but it still feels small town, everybody knows everybody still.
Right.
We'll see how long we can hold on to that.
So you, speaking of graduating, what was your next step? What did you plan? What was the thing you did out when you got done with high school?
So I was working at the little grocery store. I was working at Foodway. Remember?
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what I need to do. So I had a boyfriend, and as many young girls, and my boyfriend told me what I needed to do. And so I did that. I went and got a job, with the county because that's what you do. It's respectable. You get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And my
FRS.
Yeah. All the things. And I was 18 years old. I went to my best friend's uncle was the property appraiser for our county. And my dad had gotten sick and my parents had retired and moved to Webster. They lived on some property my grandparents had bought, and they were living there. And my dad was sick. My siblings were still in middle school and elementary school. And so I was like, I can't go away anywhere. And I was in love. So I wanted to stick around and be here in town. So I went and I just begged him for a job. Like, I'll work at the grocery store, but I need a job.
Yeah.
And, I need to be here for my family. And so he said, all right, I'll just see what I can do. He amended his budget for me that first year. The budgets had already been turned in, and he gave me $12,000. $12,000. That's what I made for an entire year. And he just said, we'll get you there, this is where we're going to start. And I went on to work there for 20 years.
Oh my God.
I know. And I worked my way through the ranks. I worked there for 20 years. When our youngest son was 2, I decided that I wanted to go to hair school when I got out of high school. I wanted to go to hair school. And that's what I was going to do. I even went, I registered, all the things. And the boyfriend that gave me direction, told me that hairstylists don't make any money. And so I shouldn't do that. I should get a respectable job with the county. And so I did that. And he was right. I mean, I have Florida retirement, it allowed me a lot of things. It taught me a lot of things. Right. I love that part. And I miss it some now. I love the people I worked with. The people that I worked with became family. Later on, my grandparents retired, my family, they all moved to Georgia. And so I was here by myself. And so they became my family. And for 20 years I had, a bunch of mamas. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have met my husband now. And, but John was so supportive. And I was like, I think I want to go to hair school. And I was 35 years old, or maybe not, maybe I was a little bit younger than that, but, and I was like, okay, I wasn't 35. I was like 28. So we're going to go to hair school. And, I went 2 years at night for like 4 hours a night. I'd go to work, and then I'd pick up our 2-year-old, take him to John, and drop him off at whatever practice John was at. So it'd be like, I'd take him to, basketball practice. Some of our friends, we have the best friends and the best community because, they have wiped and cleaned Brock's dirty diapers during basketball practice. So John didn't have to, so many times, but basketball practice, football practice, it gets easier as they get older.
Yeah.
But then 2 years at night, and I finally finished hair school. And then, the property appraiser that I had worked for retired. He'd been a property appraiser for like 35 years. Yeah. And there became a new property appraiser. And so I worked there for a couple of years, and it was just time for me to move on. It was time for me to pull that Band-Aid off and do what I thought I was going to love to do. And I was so right. And then I just bit the bullet, and with the support of my husband, and he's always he's my biggest cheerleader. He's the backseat, but he is always my biggest cheerleader. So I was like, do it. I mean, we're gonna do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We know how to make bread, so we We can always have bread.
Yeah, I mean,
So then I became a hairstylist.
but that just shows the support you have, the support group you have, the village.
Yeah.
They always say
Oh,
it takes a
gosh.
village, and it wasn't just your kids; they helped raise you as well.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
It just, I know I feel the same way. There are people that were in my church that helped raise me,
Absolutely.
and you get older and you realize you're like, man.
Well, and you're kind of in the situation that I was in, and it's just a different. And if you've never walked in it, you don't understand it. But John had children from his first marriage,
Right.
and so you're their step parent, and then for us, we had children together, and so you're kind of navigating that as well.
Right.
And my stepkids raised me. I think they taught me all kinds of things, and I love them. And only for purposes of understanding who is who do I ever refer to them as my stepchildren, because they're just all mine. And I know that that's how you feel too.
Yeah.
Like, they're all mine. I love them as much as I love their brother and sister. So we're just blessed. And then Jesse as well. We adopted, when John and I first started dating, we adopted one of his football players was living in the house with him when he and I first started dating. And then he went on to play college football. And so we've just always raised them all.
Yeah.
Like they're all our own. And
Yeah.
so you're right. Yeah. They 100% raised me.
I have a similar situation to that. When I grew up with the Fussels and Jonathan Camp, and I worked out there as a kid till I was probably in my 30s. And similar situation. Both grandparents pass away, and I tell Marvin and Marion Fussell, I said, whether you like it or not, I'm yours. You're my grandparents now. And so I think people, like you said, adapt earlier. You adapt to people.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you like I told them, whether you liked it or not.
You build your own village.
Absolutely.
You build your own village.
Thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part podcast. Check out full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.